And we're live, folks.
Good evening. It is 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, August 4th. This is the Kearney Board of Aldermen meeting, special meeting. Call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jim, you have a chance to take roll.
All present, Mr. Mayor, and we've got plenty of guests here, too.
Great. Thank you. Board, the purpose of the meeting this evening is the regular scheduled work session for our board to have the opportunity to work and have discussion with a use tax committee that has been working extremely hard over the last 6 or 8 weeks. Shauna Cersei has been so kind to lead us, and she's done a phenomenal job with our other committee members that Alderman Lehman and I have had the opportunity to work with. And obviously our intentions is to get a use tax initiative back on the ballot this November. So we have some notes and information, and I'd like to turn it over to Shauna so she could update the board on where we stand so far with the committee, and then start a work session and give the board an opportunity to really ask questions, provide any feedback, any ideas to really make sure that we have a good, productive meeting this evening. Shauna, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm kind of hoping we can do this really informally. We will present to you, for want of a better word. I'll let you know what we've been working on. You know, now I really need to know if we're on the right path, and I would love to nail down specifically, and I mean very specifically, what you would like this money to be spent on, at least in the first year, so that we can properly message this thing and help people understand. Not only how it'll be used, but I think that makes it a lot easier to understand what it is. Frankly, I think try to clean up the messaging, making it at least a little simpler. So some of the stuff, thank you, Jim, I assume you put all this in front of them, thank you. The white paper is kind of messy, but if you glance through it, you can kind of see where some of the research has been pulled from, and I should tell you, Jim Eldridge and David Slater from the Clay County EDC have really compiled a lot of that information for us, and we've done a lot of homework. Frankly, Jim Eldridge has done a lot of homework. Mayor Hogue and myself, we've done our best to educate ourselves, not only on what it is, of course, but where people are seeing success, what it took. I will tell you, it made me feel better when I found out that it's taken 2 or 3 tries for most communities to pass this thing. That certainly made me feel better, and I think it's proof that this thing is complicated, and we've got to do a better job messaging the whole thing. So what I'm not gonna do is read this white paper to you. It's messy, and hopefully you'll take the time, if you haven't already done so, to glance through it. The most important thing I would, again, love to nail down tonight is if you look at the email, it's probably as easy a place as anything to see, for want of a better, our proposal, some of the things that we have discussed. Actually, let me go back. Sorry, be a little messy. But one of the notes, Debbie Holt is the one who sort of helped create this framework when we were discussing what's our strategy. On the page 2 of the white paper, how will the money be spent? We thought that might actually be the number one thing. And then why is it needed? And then level the playing field. So that's fluid. It can change as easily as anything, but just sort of highlights what I just talked about. So if you want to open the email, you will see what we have discussed. Proposition P is, I guess, what we are proposing this thing look like on the ballot. And that's because the P's, we might have too many P's, but police, pets, parks, and pathways are sort of what we're looking at here. And part of this, because these are all things I know you actually need to invest in your budget is tight. And so first and foremost, I know these are necessary expenses, and this would allow you to do it when you don't already have the dollars. But we also know what has been successful in other communities, and police and pets, all four. for sure all four. They're on there for a reason. But police and pets in particular have been pretty darn successful. So Jim was quite helpful. It's probably, I would consider it probably a very loose proposed budget, I guess for want of a better word, but going with the approximate $600,000 estimate, anticipated extra revenue you might receive should this thing pass in November. These are the dollar amounts that we discussed. I mean, guys, this is spitballing. What can we do here? That's all this is. So I would encourage you to look at it. I don't think there's anyone on our committee that suggests we do anything besides 2 police officers and their equipment. I think you're going to probably get a unanimous recommendation. I won't speak for everybody, but that's been from the beginning. Probably we suggest you put that on this list. And then parks, we talked about Hall Park specifically because you've done it all, right? Now you just need to develop it. And so one, that's a parks development. It's also serves seniors. It's also something you've sort of already promised, and it helps you fulfill that promise. Pathways, I'm talking too much. I'm going to try to get to the end here. We thought maybe sidewalks and or trails, hopefully both eventually, right? Sidewalks, I don't know which one's a better sell. I think that's for you guys to decide. And then, of course, which trail, which sidewalk, right? I want to be specific because that makes it a heck of a lot easier to put a dollar amount next to it. And then the animal shelter, I don't know what that costs. I have to assume it's a rather significant investment. I don't know. And so, you know, we've taken $600,000 and cut it into a lot of things here. And so at this point, I really encourage our committee to speak up, but having this sort of brief synopsis, I know it's not a lot in front of you, I'd really like to try to figure out how you would specifically like to use these funds. One, what's important to you? What do you think the citizens would be most likely to support? Probably equally as important. So with that, what do you think?
Thank you for your presentation. Does anybody else from the committee have anything to add to Shauna's message?
I would just say, from a pragmatic standpoint, does the umbrella of the Ps make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And if it does, then how would you prioritize those dollars within the Ps as it relates to the needs that you all feel strongly about? And I think if it is, you know, if the Ps are a good thing, at least most of them, then, you know, what does that breakdown look like? Really, that's what we're looking for, because then we can begin thinking about messaging.
Message it. Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else from the committee have anything else to say? All right, I'll kick off for the board. I mentioned Alderman Lehman and I was absent from the last meeting, but I think, you know, when we're talking about the 4 Ps here, police, pets, parks, and pathways, you know, it's easy for me to support all 4 of them. As the community continues to grow, we're going to continue to need additional officers and equipment. We need an officer animal control position to invest in updating our current kennels that we have out at the Public Works building. It's outdoor kennels. We have a smaller building that we could look at converting to, you know, an HVAC-controlled, actual indoor, you know, environment. Hall Park, that's been a topic of discussion, at least our last 2 meetings for sure, as a board. You know, the Hall family graciously donated that ground to the city 8 to 10 years ago. I don't believe there were any promises from the research I've done of a time estimate, but you know, it would be nice to, you know, look at how we could invest into that park and make it a reality. And then pathways, like we did with Lions Park, the improvements we're doing to Jesse James Park. You know, what a better way to add some amenities to our community to enhance the quality of life for residents. I would love to see some sort of connector under 33 Highway to kind of connect all of our trail systems. Maybe a designated bike lane through Prospect, or, you know, some widening there to be able to, the connectivity of all of our trail systems. So to answer your question, Sean, I don't believe I did, to be honest, on Dr. Knight's on how to prioritize. That's hard to do for me, because I believe that the committee's done a good job of selecting a very specific use for this potential revenue. Or do you need to add any opinions on the work that's being presented by the committee?
I do.
Tried to answer, but don't.
We are building a new interchange, and on it, it has a walking trail. We need to really put this pathways to the west side. We don't have any west side trail systems per se, but we have a bridge that's going to have a pathway to get across it to nowhere. So I really think that we need to find a way to expand that west side. That whole side's going to get developed over there. Developers are looking. I mean, you got Hunt Midwest property on one side. You've got Porter and Harris going to develop over there too, and they're all going to be housing, which is all going to be people. And I think we've done a pretty good job of putting a sidewalk finally over by Dogwood, carrying it on through. I'd like to see it be able to go all the way down. So I think on the trails on the west side is important. Police officers, as the defund the police movement is kind of swept across the country, the last thing we want is a crime area. We want to make sure that our town stays safe. I'm all for, I'd like 5 police officers, but 2, that's what I want to do. I'm all for that as well. And I think public safety is always a good point. And I think public safety is something that the community can get around. We like amenities like parks and things that we can see, but we can't enjoy them if we don't have a safe community and to enjoy them with. So the priority to me would be the police officers, because safety is key. It's just like this town has always supported the fire department to make sure that we have enough firefighters to take care of our homes, and if we have an accident and those type of things. This town has always been good about supporting our police officers, shop with a cop, do the things, and I think it's something that the community can get around. And they understand, they see that the town's growing, so I mean, they understand the need that's there. Pet shelters, I like the pet shelter idea. Now, I haven't talked with anybody about this, so I'm just throwing it pie in the sky, but we're building a new dog park. I'd kind of like to move the new dog shelter kind of out by the dog park. Because if we end up having a shelter out there that a dog needs to be adopted, who better to find a dog than a dog lover who's already out there with their dog? Kind of makes sense to me. May not to everybody else, but it does to me. So yeah, I'd like to see something like that done. And then the Hall Park, that park was donated. It's got some restrictions to it, so it's not like just a blank park. You've got things there. That one's a hard one to develop. And if we're going to sell that park, we're going to have to sell the idea of the park, because it's not just like Lions Club Park and we can put anything we want in it. So most people don't understand what Hall Park is. So if we're going to sell Hall Park as part of this thing, we're going to have to kind of sell what Hall Park really is.
Can we call it Senior Park? Can we just call it that?
That doesn't have a P in it, but yeah.
I know. You're right, it doesn't. When we market it though, is it?
New spelling.
Yeah,
New spelling.
Yeah, P silent. Yeah.
But just in the marketing,
Yeah.
Pastor Prime.
Hey, that's good.
Prime Park.
Yourself, Mr. Slater?
I'm hanging out there and look for another ex-wife.
Just keep
going on the radio.
We'll find you one.
Yeah, but Shauna, there is a drawing around here somewhere of kind of an idea of what we want the park to eventually look like. So I do think that if we're gonna sell the park, maybe we need to sell what the park's actually has. That was my thought.
Appreciate your input. You have anything else?
No.
I agree with most everything that's been said. I have to admit, I personally am leaning more towards that connector, for a safe crossing up here at 33 by our interstate. Your vision, though, is really good. I think it's, a bit more in the future, but it needs to be thinking about it and percolating on it also.
And as we develop, won't
Yeah.
that be required, those sidewalks, other development paths?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
There
So I think that's good, that eventually, I'd like to see the big circle eventually.
Me too.
Mhm.
Well, clean around.
Because I am with MML and some of those things, and correct me if I'm wrong, and David, feel free, pets, most of them that pass it, pets is at the top.
Police and pets are.
People
almost all of them.
consider their pets as an extension of their family. I know that in reality, the police are the most important component of this, but if we are truly wanting to appeal to get this passed, maybe the pets are at the top. I feel bad saying that, but it's a truth. And then the police officers, and then parks and pathways. I see definite need for all of these. The Hall Park, even though it is very specific, it's no different than our skateboard park is very specific for a certain demographic, the very young. I mean, you don't see very many 40-year-olds out at their skate park. Vice versa, you're not gonna see many teens at the senior park.
Bill's out there then.
You were out there, you ought to watch him in our neighborhood, oh my. So, they all have a need. I think you guys have done an amazing job. I think this is a great appropriation of funds, a good division. I like it. There's nothing here that I can't get on board with.
Not to put you on the spot, but would you be so kind to share your plan about, maybe a specific individual for each section?
I do.
Because I think it's positive, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I have been thinking about this for a while with this use tax. I was frankly very disappointed that it didn't pass the first time, but also not surprised, because I have watched it go down in flames with other communities around our state. But my thought is we put a face to each of these that we're thinking of. It makes it easier for people to identify with, I think. For our police, I would like to maybe have Marnie, because we can't have someone that is currently on our payroll. There are a lot of caveats that we have to be careful of. So I thought Marnie was really good for the police. This gentleman to my left, whom I don't know, but I thought he might be good for our pathways. Christy Mayo.
The guy that rides by your house on a bicycle about every day.
Yes. No, it's a skateboard, right? I feel very comfortable that he would represent them well. I think Christy Mayo is a shoo-in for our parks. She's well-spoken, she's well-known in our community because of her publication for quite some time.
She's a really good park board member.
Yes,
She is?
yes, she's, I think, all naturals. The pets, why not? Either Dr. Lear or Dr. Ham. I think either one would be good, but I would like to see a face put to each of these. And then they also can be that person that is out, if there is a meeting and we're trying to educate or, you know, enlighten some of our community, there's someone that they can talk to if they have a particular area that they're passionate about. So, yeah, I think you've done an amazing job to get this pulled together.
Appreciate your feedback, thank you.
This one is a tough one for me, because I think, just as everybody else has said, these 4 things are things that we all really need. And for me, I agree with pets. I have a couple, but for me, it's gotta be police. I mean, I think in this environment, we can't continue to underfund our police and expect the community to stay in the way that it is. You know, we're gonna have more crime. We've already seen that, more crime that comes from out of town, and so I think we have to address that by having more people on the streets. But the pets is a big deal. And for me, the parks and the pathways kind of go together, especially when you're talking about trails. I would love to see Kearney be a walkable community, and I think as we get larger, now is the time to start looking at that, because once you have things built, it's more difficult to build around them. So keeping an idea of maybe thinking about the west side. The first year, we probably don't need it, because we're not going to have an interchange in the first year of that this is passed. But keeping an idea of that we need to plan ahead, we need to think ahead and make sure that we have accounted for the kind of walkable community that we want.
I like that term, walkable. I like that.
Appreciate your feedback. Alderman Lehman?
So I've been involved in this quite extensively via Zoom, but, you know, I can tell you that this group put in a lot of work on this, and we've come up with 4 very critical topics, and it's really tough to categorize which one's more critical over the other one, because, but I think, again, with society and the defunding, the talk of defunding police, we're already short police officers. We're having trouble recruiting police officers, and that's not just here, but that's, you know, I think for me, the police has to be the top priority, and I think second, you know, the pets. You know, the pets are our furry children, you know, and that's why a lot of people, you go out on some of the community Facebook pages and you know, they talk about fur babies and you know, they talk about some of the people moving to Kearney find it hard to believe that the city our size doesn't have an animal shelter, and so I work for a community that's in the process of building, very preliminary stages of building an animal shelter, and done right and done cost effectively, you might be able to hit that dollar amount. But I think, you know, I think that gets the public behind it even more with the pet aspect. Yeah, pathways and parks. You know, I think our community is well known for the amount of trails that we have. And, you know, I have several friends that will come up here on a Saturday and bring their bicycles and they'll make several trips around, the southern, trail. And, my wife and I walk it constantly and are constantly seeing people running out there. And, I've heard a lot of good suggestions about the west side. The west side is where Kearney's gonna grow. We're gonna expand drastically once that interchange gets in. But Kearney's talked about a connectivity of Southern Trail and the Northern Trail, if that's what we wanna call it. We've talked about that for years. And I mean, even, I think even back when I worked for the city.
Still on our plan.
Yeah, it's been.
If we ever lose the railroad right away, that's
Yep.
what we're going after.
Yeah, and so we've talked about it for so long. I think this is a prime opportunity to be able to maybe not the young people, but maybe the people that have been here for all their life, you know, they've heard about this connector between the two trails for forever, and now maybe this is a way for us to fulfill that long promised aspect. But then you got the parks. You know, our dog park is fast approaching being done, and you know, again, that plays right back into the pets. But you know, Lions Park, boy, that's been a hit. So I like, we have a very large senior population, as evidenced with all the senior housing complexes that are going up. And there are already a waiting list, on all of them. And so we have a large senior population. You know, the land was donated. The problem is gonna be, how do they get there? And so, and I know.
I assume, I'm sorry to interrupt, are you referring to Hall Park ground then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Parks in general, but Hall Park, yeah. You know, maybe that's something that, the Enrichment Council with their bus, you know, you use that, maybe with volunteers, you know, you can get seniors from one place to Hall Park. The restrictions that Alderman Holt referred to, those do kind of worry me, and what's required to be in that development. But I think this package gives everybody something to buy into, and so I know the group has worked a lot to get there. So I like it. It's hard to specify which priority, but if it was for me, it'd be police, pets, pathways, and then parks. So
Appreciate your feedback.
yeah.
Side note, staff, if you could do me a favor and maybe pull any records, plans, and any promises we made to the Hall family on that park. I wasn't aware that there was specific stipulations on what specifically would be improved there.
There was a park plan a park master plan that was prepared that went through the Parks Board.
Do you know when that was roughly?
Oh, I don't remember 5 years ago,
Okay.
maybe something like that. We'll produce that. We thought it might have been, I was checking to see if it might have been on the website, and I couldn't find it, but we'll get that out to the board
Right.
members.
Thanks.
If you say so. What you get?
So, I believe what I'm hearing from the board is there's a consensus, that the board would support the committee's recommendation of Prop P, specifically in this order, Prop P, police, pets, parks and pathways.
And potholes.
Genius, actually.
Stay positive.
Genius, actually.
Thank goodness that we've done such a good job, I don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
They policy. So that can be a problem.
Can I make it harder? We're gonna have to make it harder now.
Sure.
Sorry. This was, and I don't mean to interrupt, so that was tremendously helpful. It helps to figure out where your head's at, but now we have to dig in. So for instance, hopefully, we can be candid here, right? I'm gonna be regardless, but, there have been promises made in many years past, that sometimes things don't always come to fruition at the rate we hope they will, right? So what I don't think we can let happen here is to make some sort of promise, even if it is a completed one, that's going to take maybe even 3 years to complete.
No,
And so the animal shelter, I don't think there's a single person that has to be told the value there. And the sentimental piece is strong there, just like the police. But this probably needs to be a deliverable thing that you all choose to do. Not that you wouldn't eventually complete it, but my personal suggestion would be to choose some projects that you feel like could be completed in a really timely manner. So that you could say, look, we did this use tax, these items were on our plan, and look what we did for you with that money, just what we promised. And I'm afraid if it's 3 years down the road plus, they're gonna start questioning it probably within a year or so.
Well, we've done a master plan on Hall Park, and it was designated as a senior park. There are no restrictions, from the owner, and he was never promised a timeline. Promises get remembered as promises that aren't promises, unfortunately. This board has never made a promise for even this public pool, that there was never a discussion with this board that ever made a promise or a commitment to any timeline for some of those projects that are remembered as promises. Individuals made those, and actually they didn't even make them from an official meeting. And so those are problems, not promises. And we need to correct those problems because that's an issue. Now, the master plan that was done was for Hall Park was a walking trail and exercise things around there, and there were some shuffleboard courts, that they play in Miami, I think. Imagine that. And so just remember, when you're out there at a 90-degree with a 90% humidity, that's the same thing that's going on in Florida, guys. Same.
So, Shauna, I
Why did they move to Florida?
totally where you're coming from.
That's exactly what I was referring to.
I think, I can relate to your message. The worst thing we would ever want to do is paint a picture and not deliver. All of the taxing entities in Kearney, the city, the fire district, the school district have always done a great job of being good stewards of our taxpayer revenues. And that has to continue to be a priority. We don't want to lose face with the public, so.
Well, the police, that's easy. I mean, as long as we can find the people
To
to
hire.
hire.
Yeah.
But buying new equipment, buying a new police car, but that's easy. That's easy to deliver. It's easy. It's visible.
And out of the gate, we could start looking at, higher Bureau, they did a great, just an example, right?
Right.
An example like Mario of out of the
We
gate.
developed a park plan.
Right.
And we have a relationship with them, and we know what they did.
and that's a good place to start. And on the animal control shelter, I'd recommend WSKF be retained in the near future, because they did Excelsior Springs Animal Control Shelter. They've worked for us on several projects. I consider what they've done for us has been efficient, and they listen to us. And, you know, I'd like to start getting those things going so we can come together with some better plans. We could be working on those between now and the election day. So to fine tune, promising somebody within months or of doing something, that's always hard to do. Even with Lions Park, we had COVID shut us down, and so, it could shut us down again. I mean, it's not over. And so, but we'll be budgeting things, and there'll be a commitment from the board for these projects. Whatever the board does, they get done. And I don't know of anything that we haven't failed to deliver on promises. I just don't know of a thing. And like I say, the swimming pool, it has never been promised by this Board of Aldermen. It has never adopted a stance on that.
Well, can I say for the pathways, even though I obviously have a personal favorite and would like to see that connector for a safe across 33, I would like to get some input, because I know you use it on a regular basis. Where do you see the most benefit if we were to pick one section to connect?
What you've done with the downtown area, including the splash pad, is phenomenal. Making that, I really like the terminology walkable, making all of the amenities of downtown, which are increasing all the time, easily accessible via bicycle and via walking, I think is really important. If you prioritize police, which I completely agree with, as folks move into this town, and of a top on their agenda for moving to Kearney is safety. And as it grows, that increases the number of interchanges off of I-35. That's where the crime comes from. So I think that they want to retain the small town feel. They want to retain the safety. But then, for I would say relatively low cost, designating existing roads as bike paths, which all of us have seen in other towns and other communities, would be relatively inexpensive to do and would be a very quick win. And connecting the south trail to the north trails is how you do that through this downtown area, so that there's easy accessibility. Think how nice it would be if the children that lived in this neighborhood could ride their bicycles to Jesse James Park without fear, and their parents would allow them to do that. That would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. So I think that's very doable as sort of a quick fix and out of the gate. That the underneath I-35 and 33 is certainly, I believe, a MoDOT collaboration, but is pretty doable. There's not very much distance from the new senior facility.
It can be done.
To the access to the park there.
We required part of their development plan, and Mako was gracious to add that whole connection from Dollar General all the way to the senior center. So
right. Yeah, that's great. That's really going to be nice.
We have a grant application we completed for a piece of the walkway to the north, right, David? Did we do that?
We had other priorities.
Okay.
We have it listed as a project for us.
We have it together.
It's never.
Okay, that's another engineering thing that we'd need to put together, a little more engineering work. And the last people we had design a trail was AGC, I believe.
Well, we did our Clear Creek Crossing.
Yeah, who did our Clear Creek
Well,
crossing?
Trans Systems designed that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Bill Nicely, single track dirt trails. Mr. Slater?
Yeah, for you who don't know me, I'm David Slater with Clay County EDC. The ARCA money got released yesterday, and I don't know if you've heard that yet, but, this would be a Jim and a David question, but what's the chance of getting that money and using it for some of these projects and reimbursing that fund with the money? But if the vote passes in November, then you could start immediately dropping that money in. And some can be used for tourism, some of it can be used for public works.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just throwing it out there, maybe it's a source of revenue where you could hit the ground right there if the vote passes, using those funds to be reimbursed from use tax funds. But that, I don't know the technicalities, and you all have to figure that out, but that way you could deliver on these promises if the voters do it.
We wanna build some groundwater storage for that, that money.
Yeah, but but the use tax rolls in, you could bond that out or whatever, and pay it back with the use tax money.
Debbie?
Well, that, yeah, we do bonding, commitments for both the animal shelter building and
Hall Park.
Hall Park.
Okay,
If Hall Park was chosen as what you guys wanted to work on.
I'm just throwing that as a
And that
cash
master
flow.
plan needs to be brought back to you guys so you can sign
Hall
off on it
Park would
because.
help bring in our seniors on this.
Debbie, you had something?
Good point.
Going back to what Jim said about how the board never made promises, and that's absolutely true as I know it. But perception
There you
is
go.
reality, and the public
There you go.
feels that they were promised. So, flipping that to when we can do something, I think it's imperative on the city's part to almost, develop a MoDOT philosophy, the progress as promised. Plant that sign, do that marketing as promised, and start being what is perceived, even though you've always done what you said you were gonna do. The public doesn't realize it, but you're gonna start nailing it to them, that we promised this, we're gonna do it, and we did it. See?
Especially a really
P-
good idea.
Promise
You
a
guys
P
do a
word.
lot. I love
We
that
need
idea.
to do our own
I love
promoting.
that idea.
Promoting.
Promoting,
There's a lot of things you can fix
Progress.
going on.
We did that, we did that with the 2010 bond issue with the fire district.
yes,
Every time we did a vehicle, it was completed as promised.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that people do see,
Yeah,
I do
that's a good
kinda
idea.
like that sign thing.
It's a great idea.
Sign and don't miss out on the Facebook marketing.
Yeah.
We might hate it, but the KKI is here to stay,
Can we get that in the
so.
Yeah.
Took me a second.
No, I got that. from
Shauna,
last
was
meeting.
there anything else from the committee that you needed to accomplish this evening, or anything else that you need as far as for direction from the board?
I would be so grateful if some version of that budget line item that was put in front of you, it's super arbitrary, please don't take it, but some version of that. I would, from what we've seen as success stories, they've been extraordinarily specific.
Yes.
And so that's what I would love to see, is if, instead of, these are all beautiful peas, and, I think we could all agree, it's hard to pick. But in the end, I would love for something to equate to $600,000 specifically,
That shouldn't be
so that we can
hard,
sell it for you.
it shouldn't be a hard task.
Yeah,
No.
and maybe that was the 2 police officers, did I just use that number arbitrarily at some point? I hope I didn't.
No, that's.
I think we broke down the numbers.
Oh, okay,
That's
I just wanna make sure I didn't make up that number.
Yeah, for 2 police officers.
Okay,
And benefits and equipment.
okay.
Now, are we talking 2 police officers or 3? 2 police officers and animal control.
Supposed to be an umbrella.
Well, you can call the animal control
I
officer,
failed.
So it's 2, two people.
It is.
police department.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering,
But
if
it's
we're
a
not,
civilian position.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a civilian, they
Oh,
won't,
really?
yeah.
right.
I
But
will
that would be
make
a great
one last
improvement to
comment.
I feel better.
As I said, I am all about the police, but I also do some things with some younger people in that 20 to 40-year age range, and there is a big movement towards defund the police. We need to,
In Kearney?
We need to push this, I personally would say more as the safety side of it.
Not a
Yeah, we just need to be cautious how we push it out there.
It's called public safety and not police.
Yes,
Yes.
I like that, exactly. Safety, safety.
Public safety.
Public safety,
Yeah.
that's the P.
With a P.
Yes, it's a perfect P.
Only thing is, that has specific definitions in the minds of police officers. And that
Well-
makes them, that's a dual role, fireman, policeman is what that means in other
You
cities.
know, public safety's went away, the public safety departments.
Yeah.
They have,
Last one was one of the last ones.
They-
How do we set ourselves up to win? I don't want to.
I mean, you'll have some
Peace
people who will wanna
officers
debate
rather
that.
than police.
Yeah.
When you talk about specifics, then you say, well, we need police officers on.
You know, I get, maybe I'm just,
And you can say public safety police, I think.
yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm a little biased the media always portrays things, but I think in general, our community, our police department has a good reputation, and our leadership of that department has a good reputation, and tenured officers, most of them with 10 to 15 years.
Trying to be in one of the top 10 safest
Safest
cities.
communities.
Right.
Consistent.
I like that.
Safety again.
Preserve safety.
Here we go, I like that.
Or
I like
preserve
that.
public safety.
I am the daughter of a California highway patrolman, so I grew up with this, and I'm,
ice brain.
it's the right thing to do, but we do just need to be careful right now with what's going on in the world, how we word it, so that it doesn't go down in flames because of a few odd words. We'll still have the same outcome, but.
There's still that little niggle in the back of my brain, though, that says you have to explain that this is not a new tax.
Right.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, well,
yes.
And that doesn't address the Ps, but it's still out there that this is something new.
Yeah, and the aldermen all need to have the elevator speech, because you're gonna run into people, this is not gonna work unless you all are in and know what you're talking about, because you're the ones who come bumping these people and they trust you, but it's not a tax increase, it's just making this tax rate the same for people who purchase online as those who invested in Kearney and create jobs for Kearney and provide property taxes for Kearney and just sell it like.
Is it fair to say it's just reallocating where it goes to?
No, because it's not a tax increase, because they're voting on the tax rates that all your voters have passed throughout the year, so that's important to remember. But it's just adding that tax onto the online purchases for those who have not made the investment into Kearney, who have not put Kearney residents to work, who have not contributed to the shop with the cop and things like that. The people who are invested in Kearney will be paying the same tax rate as those who have. And it's called the fair tax. I mean, they're gonna see tax when they go to the ballot box. Don't let that be the first time they hear it. It would be my recommendation, obviously, listen to Sean and the mayor, but
It's sort of two-pronged. One is, what are the dollars going for? And do they speak to voters, do they speak to residents as being valuable? And then two, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Right, so
side by
that's-
side, I
right.
mean, they need to probably stand, and I should probably, tell you, I really didn't intend for you to see this yet, but, no, I don't want you to apologize, I'm so glad you printed it. So now that you have it, do they have a virtual copy, Jim?
I don't think I shared the link.
So I would, so what we're gonna do is after we get these official, whatever you decide, like, let's do this, then we will clean up the messaging. We'll provide an elevator speech, for want of a better word, to you. I mean, use as you wish, but we will provide that to you. That being said, you probably need to read everything in here. If you don't already know every answer in here, you probably need to know it. So in terms of messaging, I would love for us to all be on the same page, and eventually we will all be saying the same thing. The problem is most of us can't ask people to vote yes for this thing. So step one, let's do our job. Thank you for making it so much easier. And then we'll get our job done. And then we've got some folks, they're in some of these documents. Most of these people, like I've asked Lorne, a few people have been approached. Half of them haven't. Some of them are just ideas, so please keep that in mind. You're not seeing an official group of people in here. But once we kind of have our stuff in order, we will start asking a few people to serve in a more campaign advisory role, kind of separate from what we've come up with as a team. Then we'll kind of share it with them and ask for them to kind of help push it out on behalf of everybody. Hopefully folks like Marnie, who the whole community trusts. I have not confirmed with her yet. Please let's not burden her with pressure, but
I think all
hopefully
these
we'll.
names we haven't asked, so and this is being put on YouTube, so, we wanna run out and tell those guys that we've mentioned.
Yeah, that's my concern, is these
We
are,
brought your name up inadvertently, and.
that's why
I did ask Marnie before I brought her name up to Sean,
Good.
so.
yeah, well, I was pestering the mayor with inviting police officers, and he finally wisely said, Shauna, we can't. I said, okay, how about Marnie? And then within seconds, I think you had reached out to her for us. So I just want to note that a lot of these people don't even know what we're doing here yet. They're just an idea, a concept.
It is.
I appreciate everybody's time this evening. There's nothing further needed from the community, no additional input from the board. I would like to.
I would like to throw one thing out real quick, if you don't mind. It's gonna sound stupid, Shauna, but I'm gonna throw it anyway.
I ask stupid questions all the time. So.
Well, I thought about this because of Chamber today. The guy talked about doing like a little ditty for our campaign. If we got a little slogan ditty, maybe we put on the radio.
Oh.
Did he?
Do it. I'm not doing it. I love it, like a jingle, like a little.
Pass Prompy.
Yeah.
Hey, David Slater's our man to see.
Where's the microphone? Let's go.
That's for the Vote Yes Committee to take up.
Just a thought, I mean, it came to me, yeah, Chamber.
I'm still disgusted.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I intend on bringing that to the August the 16th, proposed ordinance that would place this on the ballot for the November election. And if I can, I'll try to get some proposals for WSKF and from, as you say, Vireo, who did our park. You know, they'd be excellent at setting up the park. We've got a relationship there, and they're working on that job, so.
Yeah, I think if we could provide the committee realistic numbers and then also some realistic artwork to help sell.
Not artwork, pretty pictures.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
they start with
photograph.
I get it.
A pretty picture of
A rendering of the park, a rendering of the
Right.
trail connection, 33 and 35, a rendering of the park at Pock, a rendering of animal
How
control
about a
facilities.
shadow, a back shadow, so it's not any one of our police officers, but by a Kearney police vehicle? That way it doesn't, because I know we can't use any of them, but if it's a backside and it's shadow, but the car is the focal point.
Good idea.
Jim, I'm wondering if, and I apologize if I'm jumping in here, but with regard to the animal shelter, right now there's, there's outside kennels. There's certainly a need there, but I don't know how large that need is. Certainly not a need for, what some folks might picture as a nice, super nice facility. So when these folks design these things, it seems like building a very basic facility to meet the need for today with an opportunity for expansion later on down the road when the need arises.
That's why we like WSKF. They'll examine and evaluate our current needs. And we've been fortunate in this community in that Dr. Lear has provided shelters after we've had our dogs for 2 weeks or even less. And he has ran adoption programs for us that have, I don't think we've euthanized an animal in the past year. And that's generally the way it is almost every year. And that is something that we don't talk about much or worry about, but Dr. Lear has been a pivotal part in this, in our animal control,
Dr. Nice, I
he's
think
helped out.
getting some of those renderings to show a realistic picture, so,
Yeah. And WSKF will examine the needs and tell us what we ought to be
The
building.
associated cost estimates, and that way we can budget appropriately
right.
out of the gate. Prioritize your
I think
$1.
people will really appreciate it. Thank you I'm glad to have the opportunity to help you with this, because it's kind of been near and dear to my heart, probably well before you started asking for it. So, I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you on this. I hope we can make it a little easier for everyone to understand, and I think we will.
Ron, I appreciate you leading this, and I appreciate the committee's time.
Yeah.
With that, if there's nothing else to discuss this evening, can we consider?
So, Alderman Spencer brought up the people that are the face to the different Ps. And, you know, a lot of people in the community use one of our two vets. I don't like the idea of having a single face for that part of it, because then you alienate the people that use the other vet. So, you know, maybe at some point, you know, Dr. Lear is a face, and the other point, Dr. Ham is, so you get both groups involved. Yeah, a co-face, two-face, no, wait a minute. But, you know, I think that's critical that we have both vets that are very highly regarded in the community. I think we need to have them both in there, so we don't alienate a group. Be surprised what alienates people nowadays, so.
No, that's such a good point. I think the notes even reflect that, because it's so smart. It's who we all trust to take care of our animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned, thank you for your time.